For our final prelude, we're going to be playing a special song. It's the meditation from Tice. And that was one of Reverend Jac's favorites that he requested of us. And he came up to us after we played it for him at church. And he said, you know, that song vibrates at such a high frequency that it's like going into bliss. So I can't guarantee you bliss at this moment, but
vibration we got.
Yeah, we've got vibration and a lot of love for Reverend Jac. We're very glad you're here. We're going to play one more song, and then we'll get started here.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Martha Quintana. I had the great honor of being Reverend Jac's prayer partner. And as a result of that, over the years, we became each other's minister. And so whenever a minister was called for in a personal way, we stepped up as each other's minister. So I have the great honor to be Reverend Jac's minister tonight. And there's a part of me that wishes he'd gone for that. That had been the other way around. So anyway, welcome on behalf of Tom, of Kelly, of Victoria, and all of Jac's family. Welcome to our celebration of life tonight. And you know that he's celebrating. And as the newly minted Reverend Kamatara and Ken were playing, I was thinking about him and his vibration. And so he would have brought up the entire vibration. So sit in the high vibration of Reverend Jac as we continue on tonight. And so before I get started, it's business. And once I go into the invocation, I go into Reverend Jac's bliss. So I'm going to say this ahead of time. On the back table with the programs, there are pictures that Victoria and Kelly have brought for everyone to take home. So please feel free to take home a picture of Jac. I know he'd love that. So right, let's do an invocation. Let's raise this vibration. How good it is to fall in love. To know that that act of falling is an act of flying, and as that love takes wing in each of us, that we are taken higher and farther than we've ever been taken before. For that is the way of love. How good it is to know that love has its way with us, whether we know it or not, whether we like how it looks or not. Love has its way with us. And in some times in our lives, a special love comes. And tonight we see him, Reverend Jac Blackman, a special love arrives and lights every corner of the universe in which he dwells. And that light spreads to other corners of the universe. And the very act of Reverend Jac being alive lights up the whole world. And so tonight we celebrate, I celebrate, each of us celebrated in our hearts what it is to love Jac and for him to love us. And as he places his hand over his heart and looks at us heart to heart, that same sight is available tonight. Yes, how good that is. And so tonight, each of us fall in love again with the divine. We fall in love again with each other. And we carry on just as Jac would have us do. That is love. I'm going to invite you to say with me, and so it is.
We're going to have an opening song now, and as Reverend Jac loved not only this song, but he loved it when all y'all sang. And I do have to say, as we were the closing crew of your music team, I used to brag that the people at High Desert Center for Spiritual Living were the most singingest folk in the land, that all you needed was a little push, and then we had to follow you. So I am hoping the lyrics are in your program, so there's no excuse. Will you please do me the honor of standing up and singing this beautiful song for Reverend Jac? All right, let's make a joyful noise here. I Please be seated.
On behalf of Kelly, Tom, Victoria, and all of Jac's friends and family, which would be probably all of us, I want to say welcome to this celebration. When I was thinking about Jac and the sadness that I had, I thought, well, am I sad because I think he died? Well, no, he didn't die. In fact, he told us often that he was going to the fifth dimension. And I know he's there now, and probably discovering other dimensions, of which he'll tell us when we get there, and he'll be there greeting us with that huge smile at the door. So it wasn't that I was sad about, and I dug a little deeper, and I kept digging. And I realized that what I was sad about and what I missed was who I was in his presence. And then I realized that was probably what each of us here, each of us having had an experience of love in Jac's presence, that was each of us. So each of us individually, and each of us and all of us as a community, experienced a love in Jac's presence that was rare. In fact, when he would be telling me about someone, he would hold his hand over his heart. Do you remember that? Everybody here has seen him do that. And he would say, "Oh, I saw her, and she was beautiful. I saw him, and he made my heart soar." And so that's what I believe I'm going to miss, and probably what many of us are going to miss, is just being in Jac's presence. He was beautiful, is beautiful. Dancing in the fifth dimension. And so part of our call tonight, and I'll remind you about this at the very end, part of our call tonight is to go out and love the way Jac loved. Because Jac was into raising the vibration. He would say, "Martha." And at first I had no idea what he was talking about, because they were 600. They were 700. And I'm like, holy cow. I don't know on a scale of what, but it was a high. And then I read the books and I went, holy cow, that was really high. So the call to action tonight, and I'll read his life story because he is an incredible man, but really the life story that we carry with us into our next part of our lives, the moment we leave each other's company, because this group of people tonight are here to celebrate just in this way, just in this vibration, that human being that we knew as Jac Blackman. He was minister to some, husband to others, father to others, friend to all of us. And the moment we leave tonight, we get to carry his work on. So we don't get away scot-free, and I know that. He's tasking us to go out and love the way he loved. It's a tall order, but I'm asking you to help me follow Jac, because I intend to. All right, so here's the official story. John Blackman, who we knew as Jac, was born on November 15th, 1935 in the town of Norristown, Pennsylvania, to Agnes McFadden and Arthur Blackman, and he passed away on April the 5th, 2020, during the beginning of the pandemic. He was the youngest of 7 children. Jac and his siblings were put in an orphanage and eventually split up after the loss of his mother in 1940. During his 5 years at the orphanage, he served as an altar boy. Eventually, Jac and 2 of his brothers, Jerry and Jimmy, were put into foster care with the Obringers. The Seffing family adopted his brother Russell and sisters Colleen, Vivian, and Jean. Life on the Obringers farm and chicken ranch was challenging, and Jack looked to the future. After graduating high school in 1953, he enlisted in the Air Force in 1954. He served in Germany for 2.5 years in the military police, and for the second time in his life, served again as an altar server. In 1959, Jack took a chance and packed his belongings and moved to Glendale, California, enrolled in the community junior college. During his year at Glendale, he drove a school bus. I can actually picture him doing that. Drove a school bus, worked the library, and transported blood for the military. In 1960, he moved to Sunnyvale, where he met and married Mundell K. Lucas. They were married for 2.5 years and had one son, Tom, who was born in 1962, and Tom's with us tonight. He began attending San Jose College, and in 1967, he earned a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration and Management, and also became the first in his family to graduate from college. After graduation, Jack worked for Westinghouse and American Microsystems and a consulting firm. In June of 1976, Jack moved to Bainbridge Island off the coast of Seattle, Washington, where he worked for the Port of Seattle as a program analyst. Jack loved to sing, and when he sang, and this is when he sang with the Bainbridge Choral and Chamber Orchestra. He was quite a good singer. In 1977, Jack began taking Science of Mind classes at the Church of Religious Science in Seattle, Washington. In the summer of 1981, Jack received his practitioner's license, and in 1985, Jack earned his master's degree and became a minister. Eventually, he moved to Santa Fe, where he co-ministered with his then-wife, Nancy. He also served in Albuquerque at the Sandia Church of Religious Science and Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. However, the highlight was yet to come. He loved the people of and retired from the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living in Paradise Hills after 14 years. He had a gift of feeling the oneness of each person he was around and giving them his full attention. He was a wonderful minister. After retirement, he wrote and published Daily Rhyming Inspirations. Let a 2-line rhyme be your daily prime. And I had the book tonight, I forgot it, but yes, let a 2-line rhyme be your daily prime. He was a wonderful father. In the summer of 1980, Jack and Tom went on the SV Phantom Windjammer Barefoot Cruise to the Caribbean. Sounds like fun. Jack was quoted as saying, "It was a cruise of a lifetime." Jack was also blessed with 2 wonderful, unconditionally loving relationships. His wife, Jac Blackman, who passed in 2010, and his current love of 7 years, Victoria Hyatt, who is always by his side. Jack was preceded in death by his parents, siblings, and his wife, Jac Blackman. He is survived by his son, Tom Blackman, wife, Denise, and their 2 children, Jennifer and Sylvia, plus 3 grandchildren, Tegan, Tevany, and McKenna. Those would be Jack's great-grandchildren. Jack is also survived by his stepfamily, whom he loved as his own, Jan's 7 children and their families. Jack remained very close to Jan's oldest daughter, Kelly Murphy, and loved all she did for him. Jack is also survived by his last love, Victoria Hyatt. So that's a little snippet of that love. There is, in Jack, there's so many things I'd like to say, but at bottom line, Jack was a religious scientist. He believed that the divine indwelled us. He believed in the creativity of the divine. He believed that the divine spoke in each person in the way only that divine could speak to each person, and he nurtured that, and that is a rare gift. So in closing, I'd like to read the words of our founder, Ernest Holmes. He says, "It is human to grieve over the loss of dear ones. We love them and cannot help missing them. But a true realization of immortality and continuity of the individual soul will rob grief of hopelessness. We shall realize that they are in God's keeping and that they are safe. We shall know that loving friends have met them and that their life still flows on with the currents of eternity. We shall feel that we have not lost them, that they have only gone before. So we shall view eternity from that higher standpoint as a continuity of time, forever and ever expanding until time as we now experience it shall be no more. Realizing this, we shall see in everyone a budding genius, a becoming God, an unfolding soul, and eternal destiny. And I'm going to read this line again because it's how Jack saw the world. And it's good for us to see too. Realizing this expansion, we shall see in everyone a budding genius, a becoming God, an unfolding soul, and eternal destiny. You aren't getting off on this one, Scott. You are not getting off. And so we prepare not to die, but to live. The thought of death should slip from our consciousness altogether. And when this great event of the soul takes place, it should be beautiful, sublime, a glorious experience. As the eagle, freed from its cage, soars to its native heights, so the soul, freed from the home of heavy flesh, will rise and return unto its Father's house, naked and unafraid. Jack. There are days I just talk to Jack because we used to talk every week unless he was in the hospital. So after he got out of the hospital the last time, I was like, Jack, where are you, man? So I talked to Jack. And I know that everyone here can talk to Jack, and he hears. And so what I'd like you to do with me is just put your hand over your heart and just feel the love there. And I want you to turn that love inward and love yourself perfectly. Allow this love to get so huge that you are seated in it. And finally, allow this love to fill this room, to fill your life. And just know Jack's with you all the time. Thank you for being here. Namaste.
Namaste. So Ken and I were trying to find a Reverend Jack theme song, which is not the easiest thing to do. But I know that, when Ken and I had the honor, along with Mike McNovich and Sue Hoadley, to be the closing music team for the last 4 years at High Desert, and we would say, do you have a talk title? Do you have a theme? And he was like, Spirit will tell you what to do. It'll be fine. And sure shooting, every time Ken would just say, I heard this song on the radio. Let's do this song. And then someone would get up and speak. And sure enough, the very next song we had picked had almost those exact words in it. So, and he also loved it. We would pick pop tunes that were science and mindy because I thought that was really cool. And he was always fine with that. So we picked a pop tune that's science of mindy. And really, if you can try to listen to the words, Reverend Jack theme song called Nothing More by Alternate Routes. Oh, Roots. Ken always corrects me, alternate roots.
To be humble, to be kind, it is a giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. To be bold and to be brave, it is a thinking that our heart can still be saved. And the darkness can't come quick, the dangers in the anger and the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. Tell me what it is that you see. A world that's full of endless possibilities. And heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. We are how we treat each other and nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
Thank you. That's also very fitting. He'd be very proud of you guys. Like the old songs and new songs, that was him. All right, so during this portion of our program, we'll be asking people to come up and speak. Now, surprise, Kelly, it's a little bit, we're moving it around just a little bit. Toby can't be with us today, but Kamatara is able to bring Toby's message with her. So as a result, Kelly, would you mind coming up?
Hi there. So I'm Kelly, and I am Jac's stepdaughter. So I got to know him in a whole different way because I know a lot of people here got to know him through the church, and I got to know him at home, which was totally different in some ways. Because when you're being the minister, I mean, he's just amazing, but at home, it's him the same, but just really cool. And when he came into our lives, my mom had 7 kids and some of them stepchildren, and it was just amazing. He took us all in and just loved us all. And of course, when you have 7 kids and 7 families, there might be a little drama. No, no. So anyway, he was always by my mom's side and always with each of us, and just totally amazing. But I think I got to be the closest to him because I went hiking with him. So when you're out in nature, just the 2 of you, it is really spatial. And one of the things that we actually did too is we hiked the La Luz Trail. So he was in his 70s, and we would do what we'd call La Luz in training. Go to the end of Indian school, and actually there's a hill right by there that's kind of difficult. And we would go up and down it and up and down it, and that'd be after our walk. And he'd say, we can go up this twice. Oh, okay, 3 times. Once was hard. And so we'd go up and down it, and then we'd do what we'd call high altitude La Lucin training, We'd actually go up to the other side of the crest, up by the towers, and hike up there because we didn't want to be unprepared when we did this La Loose with, like I said, he's in his 70s. And so he was a trooper. That was one of the things he loved, was doing that. The other thing he really loved was dancing a lot. And so I was part of a dance club. There's actually over 500 members, and him and Mom would come out dancing, and just a super dancer, really nice and fun to dance with. And even when Mom was on oxygen and in a wheelchair, he'd dance with her. And that was just, oh, she loved it because she loved to dance too. And so that was always really special. And then just being with him and him being so non-judgmental, he taught me a lot. And he was very judgmental when he was younger, he said. Did not know him then. And so he knew both sides. And it was very nice the way that he could actually see his part of something and try to clear it and want to just see the love of the other person, no matter who they were or what they had done. And he really did teach me on seeing the good in people, which I think we all want to do anyway, but when you have a good example, it makes it easier. And so, we went on cruises together, and we just did a lot. I was close with my mother, I was close with him, and we're kind of a family gathering group anyway that always likes to have potlucks. But then we would get to go to church, and I was not a church goer. Didn't want to go to church. Didn't want anything to do with church. But going to Jac's church was different because he didn't make it seem like my way's right and your way's wrong. And if you don't do it my way, then what's wrong with you? That was never the feel with Jac. When you'd go to Jac's church, it's like, hey, we just love everybody, come in and join us, and let's just work on what's going to make us a better person. Let's see how we can live together. And it was just a delightful thing. And then I started taking the Science of Mind classes and also learning. They're just good ways to live your life. And so I really enjoyed that. And we started going when he was up on Wantabo. And there would just be very few people, sometimes 6 or 7, sometimes 10 or 12. And we just kept growing and kept going, went to a school and then to another place. And then we ended up down at like a community center. And then after that, going into the last place where he was. And I remember before going to the last place, we had already had to take the chairs down, put them back up every Sunday. And there was getting to be over 100 people taking down the chairs, putting them up, taking them down. And so getting their own place and leaving the chairs up was a pretty big deal. And so I remember being on the board of helping out on whether we were going to get to go to that place. And part of the reason it was kind of a hesitancy was it was up for sale. And they're like, well, probably won't, even if it sells, it's probably going to take about a year to close. So we figured it gave us a place to be before finding another place. 1 year goes by, 2 years go by, oh, might sell. We still weren't worried because we knew we had a year after that. And so it was pretty interesting to be able to get to stay there. But with that leap of faith of knowing it could be a year, had a permanent home. And so I thought that was kind of neat to have a nice place and leaving chairs up. No. I know we all remember that. Elizabeth's going, yeah. So that was pretty wonderful. But just to have him in your life, even after my mom passed, it was just nice to have him in my life. And we still went hiking, and that was lovely, and still getting to see him. And then when he started not feeling well, I was going to the pool and doing a lot of water aerobics. And I was telling one of my pool partners, I said, oh, I think I'm losing my hiking partner for a few days, maybe a week. And she was like, well, would you mind if I go with you? Sure, that'd be great. I don't like hiking by myself. And so, anyway, it turned out that that was the first bout of cancer he had. And we went hiking very little after that. And to this day, I still go Monday through Friday with that hiking partner. It's been many, many years. And so I know Jac's always just loves the mountains. And so that was cool. So, kind of aside the dancing, the hiking, and singing, and it's different than seeing him be a minister, and how fun he would be at the potlucks and join us, and with his smile and delight. So he is missed. And what I know that we know that he's in his own place doing his own thing. But the thing is we're left here. And so I call it my PLM days, especially after my mother passed. And I coined that myself. And the reason for that is I knew she might be at a better place. I was not. I had lost my mother. And so I'd be really down. And my husband would say, "Are you okay?" "Oh, yeah, it's not you. It's PLM," which stood for poor little me. So I'm having a poor little me day. Like, oh, I'm kind of missing her. And I knew wasn't anything else around me, just I'm having a little PLM day, but kind of gave a little thing, initials that said, "Hey, it's not you, it's me. I'll get over it." And same thing with Jac. Get your little PLM days, and that's the way it goes, and you get over it. So I'm really glad that each and every one of you are here, but I wanted to share a little story of outside of church about Reverend Jac. And my daughter and her husband and his grandmother are here too, so that's really special to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Reverend Kamatara.
So first off, let me just say on behalf of Toby Pope, our practitioner emeritus, who is my prayer partner also for, oh my gosh, at least 7 or 8 years now. He's my best bud. We were very tearful last night on the phone because it's really hard for him to be out and about right now because he's having his own physical challenges. So he sends all his love and was telling me, I mean, I know that he, and Reverend Jac and Don Wismer, they were like the three musketeers. So, it's like kind of an ending of an era moment, but I mean, what just great bounty that we got to have these amazing gentlemen in our lives. So I know that Toby is at home right now. I'm waving into the camera. I'm blowing him kisses and knowing that he's holding the high watch. And honestly, that's far more his jam than getting up here and speaking anyway. If you know him personally, public speaking was not his thing. So just sending Toby lots of love and honoring that beautiful friendship that was between our three musketeers, as it were. Whew. So Reverend Jac was my first Science of Mind minister. And I think it's safe to say that if you come to Science of Mind as an adult, you never forget your first minister. Yeah, I'm seeing some nodding heads. And I think that first minister has a disproportionately great impact on your life. And so whether Reverend Jac was your first Science of Mind minister or your last, would you agree that perhaps he had a disproportionately great impact on your life? Yeah. He also was, as we've heard, the founder of High Desert Center for Spiritual Living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with some of you right in this very room. And I have to say that spiritual community also, and I hope you'll agree with me, had a disproportionately great impact on people's lives. I know that for Elizabeth and myself and some of you, we raised our babies in this church. I grew up myself a lot, still growing in this church, that Ken and I had the great bounty of taking foundations class with Reverend Jac, one of the very last times, if not the last time, that he taught a class. And it absolutely changed the trajectory of my life. Saved me in every way that I could be saved, has helped my family, and has launched my second career and everything that I'm doing in my life. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, through Jac. So grateful. So here are the three things, I had to whittle it down to three, that I love about Reverend Jac, and I bet you're going to love the same things. All right. Number one, I loved his unbridled joie de vivre. Remember when he would come bounding down the center aisle and leap onto the stage, which was very concerning because he was a little older. Okay. But I never saw him fumble. He always stuck the landing. And then he would turn around and he would look at us all mischievous with that twinkle in his sparkly blue eyes and then that huge smile. Oh my gosh. And he'd have on his snazzy suit and his fancy suspenders. Always had to have the suspenders. And that laugh, could you just take a moment? Just remember, that laugh, it's so infectious. I loved it. And I never got to hear Jac sing. The only version I got of him was that raspy voice, his signature voice. And I have to say, at first, I really struggled to understand him. But then, he's kind of like a foreign film with subtitles where after a while, you kind of forget that the subtitles are there because the content is so compelling that I could have just sat at his feet all day long. He could have taught a class on mud and I would have taken it. I learned so much from him, and his relish for life was so beautiful. A second thing I loved about him was his ability to speak truth with simplicity and with conviction, like I have never experienced in anyone else. I've heard stories that Ernest Holmes used to do that too. And so it was almost like my Ernest Holmes experience to be with Reverend Jac, because I'd be in my conditions and my drama and all this craziness. And he would just say the simple little sentence that was so gentle and clear. And he would say it with such surety that nothing else could possibly be true, that I actually believed it also. And I would be completely recalibrated, realigned, out the door, have a great day. He totally could do that, but with the greatest of humility and grace and gentility, which is that's not an easy balance to have. The third thing that I loved about Reverend Jac, and it's already been referred to tonight, is that he could look with the eyes of the divine. I don't know if you ever had one of those moments with him where I just would feel like I was the only person in the room. And he would look at me with so much love that I would think, oh my gosh, it's like truly not just knowing that you're the beloved of the beloved, as he would say, but like feeling, really experiencing that I am the beloved of the beloved. And that's the legacy of his life, that we got to experience that kind of love or see his example. And I am disappointed that he retired before I could be his practitioner, and that he passed before he could see me graduate from ministerial school. But I never had a bigger cheerleader than he was. And I have his Science of Mind copy now in my life. And he helps me all the time. Whether he's on that side of the veil or this, we are still very much connected. And that's his legacy in my ministry, in your ministry, and in your ministry, and in your ministry, and in our lives. Because we can do that with the same kind of joie de vivre that he had, with the same kind of simple clarity rooted in principle and that conviction of faith. And we can do that with great unconditional love. We all can do that because we are the place where love shows up. We are the place where Reverend Jac's love shows up. Thank you.
So this is a time during our program where we invite people to come up and speak spontaneously. Now, what I would ask is that when you're speaking spontaneously, to stay mindful of the time so that we are able to have a few people come up. So, so anyway, just if you would stay mindful. If not, I will come stand beside you. I don't like standing beside people for those reasons. So good. Yes. So, all right. And so who would someone move to come up and speak? There's a Diane.
I'm really nervous. And I'm not speaking for myself, I'm speaking for my daughter. So, in spite of that, I'm still really nervous. I'm talking to you today about Jac, and I'm going to read it. This is written by April Master, my daughter, and about her relationship with Jac. April would like to share with you her happiness with Jac. She says, I cannot help but reveal that when I first started typing this into my phone, I entered Blackman and it auto-corrected Batman. That's very appropriate. When I was around 12 or 13, I met Jac at church one Sunday. He was this gray-haired guy with glasses that drawn to me immediately. And Jan, his 5'0" beautiful wife, she had such a strong and yet silent presence, even though she didn't mean to. I met them in a period of my life that was filled with great sadness, pain, mental and physical. It was a terrifying time that removed my trust in anyone and everyone, regardless of where they came from. I had horrible experiences in church, so my trust and faith in men were also torn. Jac had this ability to move you to spill your guts, to open your heart. You could feel there was something safe and secure when talking to him. He had the gift to provide you answers when no one else could. I am a person that needs answers for pain, April says. He gave me answers I could understand and live with. My sessions with him and Jaco were frustrating at first, but as time went on, made sense of the pain and past. He told me that I was put on this earth to be a light bringer. He guided me to understand that in helping others in pain, I too can heal my own. Jac and Jan adopted me as their grandchild and brought me into their lives not only as family, but in spirituality. In the last year, I tried to repay the kindness he showed by showing up every day when he was in the nursing home, ensuring that he was taken care of. In his last weeks, I loved him, and I didn't know what I would do without him. He told me he was going to head on up and ask around for a good soul and send me someone who would be there and love me for who I am. 5 months later, my fiance, Josh, came into my life. I know Jac and Jan are okay wherever they are because I get those little signs. When Jan died, I received her heart jewelry box that on occasion will play all by itself. It's a beautiful song when I'm feeling low, letting me know I'm not alone. I remember and hear Jac's voice telling me to breathe and keep walking forward. And I will. Thank you, Jac, from April. Thank you for your continual guidance and grace. I love you and miss you both terribly. April.
Hello, everyone. I'm Clarissa, and I loved Reverend Jac so much. Obviously, it'd be impossible not to. Like Reverend Martha shared, being in his presence was just like this big, comforting hug. And I just wanted to share what I think is my favorite memory of Reverend Jac. In 2006, after our gathering of spirit retreat up in the mountains of Red River, and 5 days of juicy spiritual, everyone was in a really good juiced up place, and we all circled up, and we were in a really, really bad drought. There had just been no rain, and Reverend Jac led us in the most beautiful prayer for rain, like just calling in the rain for New Mexico so powerfully and with so much faith, and it was just palpable. Like I could just feel like, yes, the rain is coming. And the singing group called Devotion was there, and they sang I Dreamed of Rain, and the rains came. And we all went back home, and we got more precipitation that summer than I have ever seen before or since. It rained so much, it flooded downtown. And that same year, it snowed on Christmas, it snowed on Thanksgiving, it snowed on New Year's, like real snow that like stayed and didn't melt. And I've never before or since seen that in Albuquerque. And yeah, I just wanted to share that. And that if I could emulate the teeniest little bit of the joy and love that Jac was an expression of, I'll feel like I'm doing pretty good. So thanks for letting me share.
Hi, I'm Erwin Hellman, and I was Jac's practitioner at High Desert for about 10 years. And the one thing I remember about Jac is he said no self-criticism, zero self-criticism. And that went right in. And he was very brave, and he was brave in the way that he could say that and mean it. And you got the idea that he was really meaning it. And he also came back from some foray, and this was in Sedona, and he said, I spent the weekend with this guy, and you gotta hear about him. And he was talking about Dr. David R. Hawkins. And through that, it started the whole thing in this town of our spiritual group. And the beautiful thing is, you know, when Dr. Hawkins passed away, we all imagined then he would be a greeter. And I imagine fully that Jac is a greeter now too. So we don't really die, we just change phase. Thank you.
This is called Thanks, Jac. I love Jac Blackman, and I know everyone here loves him too, and that Jac Blackman loves all of you as well. Jac is a poet, an artist, a teacher, a singer, a prince, a philosopher king, a mystic who drew deeply from the well of knowledge, experience, love, and deep compassion. A deep well of water abides in he. A deep well of water abides in me. A deep well of water abides in thee. Jac was my friend, my mentor, my spiritual father. I have another father who taught me many things, but Jac guided me on the path to spirit, at least as far as I've gotten so far. I learned many things from Jac, being a part of a spiritual family and all that entails, and so many other things. But there's one particular memory of Jac that I want to share with you. I just had knee surgery on my right leg. I was sitting up in bed, about all I was capable of doing at that point, when I got a phone call from Jac. And I began to tell Jac my tale of woe, how I was confined here on my bed in my second-story home. I couldn't drive. I could barely move myself up and walk a few feet to the bathroom. And Jac interrupted my whining and said, "Goody, goody! You're getting to learn about interdependence now." Thanks, Jac. Thanks, Jac. Thank you, loving source, for the sweet but all too brief gift of Jac. Few of us know what effect we have on people as we journey through the ripples that move through the fibers of the world, from our actions to others we come across. But maybe, just maybe, Jac, perched now in his current realm of existence, has an inkling. Jac loved everyone. And everyone with any sense loved Jac. Thank you so much, loving source, for the gift of Jac.
My name is Talia. I am a practitioner and a chaplain, and it was Jac who took me through practitioner studies at High Desert. Oh, it was such a long time ago. I remember when I first met Jac, he was married to Jan, and at the time I was a full-time student at UNM and working full-time and going to practitioner studies. And so I used to take meals over for Jac and Jan, but Jac just wouldn't leave it there. You know, he says, "You have to have some of my meals too." And so we got into this meal exchange because that's how Jac was. You know, he was so giving in his heart. And he showed you how to love, not by telling you, but by being that love. And so while Jac was so much to me, you know, at one time he was my prayer partner. He certainly mentored me through all those studies. And I was a practitioner there at High Desert before coming here with Reverend Martha, for which I am so grateful as well. One of the things I have to say that Jac did teach me, well, a couple of things, well, so many things actually, hard to name them all, but one thing was how he would get up on Sunday mornings and he would tell you his life stories, all of the things that were not so great. He would bear his life to you, his soul, his dirty laundry. And it was all to teach you without that judgment and to show you how you can grow from your mistakes, how there are gifts in every trial that comes along. And Jack did that with such vulnerability and such self-honesty that he taught us how to look at ourselves so that we could see the more that is there beyond what appears to be, beyond appearances. And so also, if you knew Jack, you knew that Jack showed how much he loved spirit. So one of the things that Jack taught me too was that sweetness of the inner life, of going within to find spirit, not without. You can read all the books you want and take all the training you want, but you need to go within to find your truth, your love, and your life. So eventually Jack married Ed and I, my late husband, and before either one of them died, they used to talk, and sometimes we'd have dinners, and they'd laugh and carry on with such stories that now when I think of them together over there in the fifth dimension or beyond, telling each other stories and laughing and to see which one could tell the longest story. Thank you.
It's the top of the hour. And so I would be happy to honor a burning desire, if there is one. Okay, so here's the other thing. If you have a burning desire but are afraid of public speaking, which is, I think that they said was the number one fear, public speaking, that and death. So I'm not going to make you do that. There is a potluck here after the service. Please feel free to stay and to share stories about Jack with each other. Please remember that there are pictures for you to take home. Tom is here from the Northeast. You're from Portland? From San Jose. Oh my gosh, San Jose. I love San Jose. Okay. And Victoria is here. And thank you, Victoria, for everything you did. And Kelly. So his family is here, immediate family. Please stop and say hello. Just wonderful. Thank you for being here tonight. All right. So are we doing Wonderful World and then the benediction?
We can go in whatever order you'd like, Reverend Martha.
I think I'll do a benediction first. You know why? Because you guys are with me on this one. Here's what I would like you to help me with. This is Reverend Jack's physical body. And so if you would just raise your hands and know that wherever he is, that we are each blessing him. And as I say these words out loud, say your own words in your heart. For in this moment, I know that Reverend Jack is dancing in the heavens, that he's made of the same stuff as starlight, and that his vibration allows him to go faster than the speed of light. And he does that and says, yippee, for he is the light of the stars, the light of the sun. He is that love that has entered our hearts, each one of us, one by one, and some days all at once, yes. And so in this Reverend Jack, Reverend, the very ground you stood on was sacred and holy. And let us know that the very ground we all stand on is sacred and holy. And so it is that sacred and holiness that we shoot back to you today, Reverend Jack, wherever you are, knowing that you are no longer confined to a physical body, but shooting in every direction and coming back, allowing yourself to know with each of us our joys, our true joys, and our sorrows. And in this blessing, I bless Reverend Jack's family. I bless beautiful Victoria, knowing that Jack loved her and this community loves her. It surrounds her in this moment. And in this blessing, I bless Tom and his family, knowing that Jack loved him with a father's heart that was proud and happy, that loved Tom with all that he could love Tom. And so this community loves Tom with all that we can love Tom too and bless him and his family. And the same is true for Kelly. We bless Kelly. We bless her brothers and sisters, all of their family. We bless these communities, all of the people that were at High Desert, all of the people that he touched in Science of Mind all over the world. We bless them. And so it is in that Reverend Jac is blessed. It is in that we are each blessed. From this moment on, no self-judgment, none, no more. It's gone. Only love. And as each of us leave this ceremony tonight to talk with each other, we are each loved beyond our wildest dreams. And as we move out in this world from this day on, we are each the place where love shows up, the place where the loving source has left its mark, and we get to be more. So knowing that is the case, I say thank you, Jac. Thank you for your life. Thank you for your light. Thank you for touching us all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And until we meet again, Reverend Jac, all is well. And so it is.
And so
Amen.
it is.
Thank you so
Reverend
much.
Martha. For our closing song, I'm going to ask for Mike McNovich to come up from the old music team. And I'm going to ask y'all to stand one last time because we're going to have a big old sing along, just one song for Reverend Jac. And if you don't know the words, it is in your program, but I bet you already know it. Sing nice and loud. Let them hear it wherever you are. That's right. I see trees of green,
red roses too. I
see them bloom
for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. Babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in the social hall.
And for people who haven't been here before,